Hey everyone, Samia Khan here with your FOX10 News Now update. Hope you are having a lovely Tuesday afternoon. This is Pope Week here in the United States. I jokingly said during the morning edition of News Now that we're just going to rename the show Pope News Now, PNN, instead of Fox News Now because we have so much Pope coverage ahead in terms of live events. I know he'll be speaking. We're going to start as early as 6 a.m. tomorrow, 6:15 Arizona time, for an event with the Pope. So lots and lots of Pope coverage ahead, including, well, we're getting this video in, and I'm not too sure how many of our viewers understand Spanish, but we are getting video fed in right now of the Pope answering questions from the press. The press members that rode on the same plane as the Pope from Cuba to D.C. We could listen in to that for a brief second.
Fue un poco casual porque yo pensaba entrar en los Estados Unidos por México. Al principio, la primera idea, ¿no? Ciudad Juárez, o sea, el límite, ¿no? Pero ir a México sin ir a la Guadalupana hubiera sido una bofetada, ¿no? Pero eso pasó, fue una cosa que pasó. Después se fue dando esto que se dio.
So that's a little bit of what we're getting fed in right now. In terms of live images, I can go ahead and show you this. Looks like everyone is waiting for Pope Francis to arrive at this. Oh no, it looks like he arrived at the Vatican Embassy in Washington, D.C., from my understanding. As you can see, lots of kids on the right-hand side of the screen. And this is part of our continuous Pope watch. Now, in addition to extensive Pope coverage here on News Now, we're also going to bring you updates on local news. I know that the mayor and Phoenix Police Chief Yonner are getting together. They're holding a special press conference on media availability. It's scheduled to start right about now, where they're going to discuss police and community relations. Obviously, a very important topic nationwide, a very touchy subject for some people, but a necessary topic to address. So as soon as we get that stream in, I'll be taking you there live as well. In the meantime, we're getting these live images in from DC. Looks like many people very excited for the Pope's visit.
Hello there, how we doing?
Quattro discorsi e a Cuba ne ho fatto 8. Grazie tante per il vostro lavoro e pregate per me.
Grazie mille Santità, veramente, e auguri, perché se noi abbiamo da lavorare lei neanche più di noi, e quindi le facciamo veramente i nostri auguri e continueremo a collaborare come comunicatori perché quello che lei dice possa servire veramente per tutta l'umanità e per la pace.
All right, while we wait for our live event here locally in Phoenix to begin, I'm playing a clip in the upper left-hand right-hand corner, which it looks like it's over. As you can see, they were on the plane where the Pope was. They kind of held a makeshift press conference on the plane itself between Cuba and Washington, D.C. Looks like this is some more video coming in. This is video from earlier today, the Pope's arrival. You can see the first family awaiting his arrival, Barack Obama, his children. There you see Michelle Obama. And this is video that was shot earlier today of the Pope's arrival. The Pope arrived a little over an hour ago. All right, I'm going to go ahead and transition. In the large portion of your screen are live images. In the upper right-hand corner of your screen are taped images from a little over an hour ago when the Pope first arrived in the United States, first step on U.S. soil. There you see him mingling with President Obama. There he is shaking Joe Biden's hand. And again, we're going to bring you continuous Pope coverage here on News Now. But we'll also bring you some other news updates as well. So we'll just bring you continuous news coverage as we always do here on Fox 10 News Now. So in case you're wondering what this image is, these are live images coming out of the Vatican Embassy in D.C. where the Pope is staying. As you can see, many people gathered there, very excited for the Pope's arrival to the United States. All right, guys, so it looks like the crowd has pretty much cleared out outside of the Vatican. So That is where the Pope is staying, that Vatican embassy in D.C. So, again, this is a look at it. Lots of people were gathered, awaiting the Pope's arrival. He has now arrived. And if we get any more live feeds in, we'll obviously bring that to you here on News Now. I also mentioned previously, just a couple minutes ago, that there was this press conference. I was very excited to bring you guys specifically a press conference featuring Phoenix Chief of Police Joseph Yonner, Mayor of Phoenix, lots of high-profile people getting together to talk about police-community relations. We were supposed to have that for you. We were trying to communicate with our crew out there. Hopefully we'll be able to connect that live signal and get that information to you guys live. Worst case scenario, if we aren't able to bring it in live, as soon as they come back, we will clip that video and play it for you so you at least know what happened. We promise. We're News Now. Sometimes news a little bit later, but usually News Now. On that note, I am going to play this next video from a much talked about politician out there. Well, technically she's considered an outsider, but she has been making headlines this week, last week. I'm talking about Carly Fiorina. She was in South Carolina this morning, and let me just pull this video up right now. Well. I lied when I said that I was going to pull up video of Carly Fiorina. What I'm going to do is pull up video of Marco Rubio from Friday, and you guys will be seeing Carly Fiorina shortly thereafter. Marco Rubio probably very excited for the Pope's visit to D.C., as some of you in the chat room mentioned. Marco Rubio himself is Catholic.
And often it seems like the right is afraid to challenge that approach. How do you propose to address this issue?
Well, let's challenge it tonight, right here with you. And I'll tell you, first of all, our higher education system is completely outdated. Completely outdated. It's basically a monopoly. If you want to get a degree, you can only get a degree from a school that's traditionally accredited. What that means is these traditional colleges, and by the way, I have nothing against traditional college, otherwise, how would we have college football? So, but, go Gators, that's right. I got in trouble this week over that. I know. Hey, Spurrier's a Gator, if you're from South Carolina. Anyway, but here's the problem. The problem is that who accredits these colleges? Themselves. And they use the power of accreditation to keep out any competitive innovators that may come into the space. So here's what we need to do. Number one, some of the best paying jobs of the 21st century require more than high school, but less than 4 years of college. And we stopped teaching people to do this work. At some point in our country's history, we started telling our kids that being a welder or an airplane mechanic, that was for the kids who weren't smart enough to go to college. That is a lie. I'll tell you this right now because it's a fact. Here's the facts. A welder makes a lot more money than a Greek philosopher. And so the first thing we need to do is open up higher education to more vocational training. And that means people as young as 15, 16 years of age. They've decided they want to work with their hands for a living so they can actually have a job when they graduate. We should allow them to begin to receive that training so that when they graduate, they have a high school diploma and they're industry certified and ready to work. The second thing we need to do is we need to provide competition to traditional higher education. So imagine for a moment a single mother. Maybe you know her, maybe it's you, so you don't even have to imagine. And you make $13 an hour as a receptionist at a law office. The only way you are ever going to get a raise is if you can go back to school to become a paralegal or a dental hygienist. But you can't go back to school because the traditional schools require you to quit your work and sit in a classroom for 2 to 4 years. But imagine if there was an alternative to that gave you credit for what you've already learned in life, in work experience, in military experience, and then allowed you to learn the rest, whatever you're missing, from a combination of different sources, including free online coursework. That's what Mike Lee and I and others are working on, is providing an alternative accrediting model that will open up competition so people facing those circumstances can become a paralegal, and instead of making $14 an hour, they're making $60,000 a year. Here's the third thing. As I said, we're still going to have traditional four-year colleges, but we cannot continue to graduate people in this country with degrees that do not lead to jobs. I feel very passionate about that. I myself owed over $100,000 in student loans when I became a senator. I still owed it. I was able to pay it off with the proceeds of my book, An American Son, now available on paperback. And, it really is. I'm not joking. It's available on paperback. But here's what I believe. Before you take out a student loan, schools should have to tell you, this is how much people make when they graduate from our school with that degree. So you can decide if it's worth borrowing $50,000 to major in Roman philosophy, because the market for Roman philosophers has dramatically tightened over the last 2,000 years. And so, in closing, what do the Democrats propose? Pouring more money into the same system. Pouring more of your money into the same system, as if somehow if we poured more money into it, it would work better. What I propose, what Heritage has proposed, is a new system. Revolutionize the system, modernize the system, and allow it to be about the people, not about the schools. Allow it to be about the students, not about the institutions, so that people have the skills they need to compete and succeed in the 21st century.
Senator Rubio, let's stay on the theme of pouring money into a failing system. You said last month that the time for personal accounts and Social Security, quote, has passed. A recent study by the Heritage Foundation finds that an average wage-earning male who reaches age 65 this year will receive fewer than 92 cents for every dollar paid into that system. By 2030, it'll be down to 83 cents. Why should we be pouring more money into a failing Social Security system that gives a negative rate of return rather than truly empowering Americans with
I just think politically it's going to be very difficult to achieve that or to pass it. But I still feel we need to do something about it very strongly. Let me begin by saying this. I am from Florida. You may not know this, but there are a lot of people on Social Security and Medicare in Florida. One of them is my mother. I am against anything that's bad for my mother, okay? But here's the fact. The fact is Social Security and Medicare are going bankrupt. In fact, the Social Security Trust Fund on Disability goes bankrupt, I believe, in about a year and a half or sooner. And then from there it gets worse. So here's the bottom line. Anyone who tells you, I want to leave it exactly the way it is, they're in favor of bankrupting it. And anyone who tells you we don't have to make any changes is a liar. They're lying. We do. If we want to save these programs. Here's the great news. We can save Social Security and Medicare, in the process help balance our budget, and we don't have to change anything for the people like my mother that are retired now or are about to retire. But here's what it will mean. People like me, I'm 44, but after the debate on Wednesday, I feel 45. It went really long. People like me, my Social Security and Medicare is going to look different than my parents'. That is a fact. It either will not exist or it will look different. And what does that mean? I may have to retire a year later than my parents did. If I've been financially successful, my benefits may not grow as fast as their Social Security benefits grew. My Medicare could very well be the option of taking my Medicare money and using it to buy a private plan that I like better. These are not unreasonable changes, and if we make them, we can save these programs for future generations, help balance our budget, and not have to make any changes to the people that are on it now. If we don't, they go bankrupt, and so does our country.
Senator Rubio, 16 years after Hillary Care failed in 1994, Democrats went back and they passed Obamacare. President Bush knew that personal accounts and Social Security would be a tough fight. It was a fight that conservative lost. Why shouldn't we go in a Marco Rubio administration and fight for personal accounts and Social Security?
Well, again, I just think that I want to save these programs, and every year that goes by, it gets harder and harder to do it. And I believe, just reading the politics of the situation, including where many people are in our own party, we don't have time to argue this for the next 10 years. Maybe future leaders or at some point in the next few years, people will be more open to it. I personally believe that we need to deal with this issue quickly. Look, when I was elected in 2010 to the U.S. Senate, I think the debt was about $14 or $15 trillion. If you had told me 5 years will pass and nothing will happen on the debt and nothing will happen on entitlement reform, I would have said that's impossible. At some point, someone will be reasonable about it. Well, nothing has happened. And in fact, we are weeks away from raising the debt limit once again. So there's a sense of urgency that I have about this issue. No one's talking about the debt anymore. It's like, oh, we only have a $400 billion deficit this year. It's still a deficit, and it spikes in the years to come. So I just have a sense of urgency about addressing this as quickly as possible, and I honestly believe that the way I've outlined has a bigger chance of success early on. I don't think we can afford to wait 8 to 10 more years to address it, or we're going to have a debt crisis. And if we have a debt crisis, you're not growing your economy, you won't even be able to provide for our national security. And it's not a question of when we will have a debt crisis, of if we will have a debt crisis, it is a question of when. It is the most predictable crisis in American history. It is self-inflicted, and nothing is happening about an $18 trillion debt that will be $20 trillion by the time a new president swears in. So we've got to deal with this as soon as possible, and I just think the way I've outlined gives us a better chance to do it.
Senator, our next question comes from Twitter, and it's about America's position in the world. The Obama administration says it leads from behind. How do we restore American leadership in the world?
Well, first of all, you restore American leadership by having the most powerful military in the world. And Washington is destroying our military. And I wish I could say it was just Democrats, but it isn't. Republicans voted for that sequester deal. And here's what's sad about it. I didn't vote for it, but I'll tell you what's so sad about it. It does nothing to balance our budget. Nothing. The cause of our debt is not our military spending. And yet we are eviscerating it. We are on pace to have the smallest and the oldest Navy and Air Force in the world, the smallest in our history, the smallest Army in a long time. These are serious challenges at a time when the world has gone nuts. As I said the other night, there is a lunatic in North Korea with dozens of nuclear weapons. The Chinese are taking over the South China Sea. The Russians are trying to divide NATO. Radical jihadists are in dozens of countries across multiple continents. Iran is also going to acquire a nuclear weapon. And we're reducing our military? And quantity matters. We have great aircraft carriers, but we need more of them because they can't be in two places at once. And so we must restore military spending. Otherwise, we are going to fall behind and be unable to meet the threats of our time, and we won't be able to live up to our promise that we make our men and women in uniform. And that is, if we ever engage you in combat, you will be better trained and better equipped than any adversary you will ever face. We won't be able to meet that if we continue this. We also have to keep our promise to our veterans when they come back home. We need a VA that cares more about our veterans than about the bureaucrats that run it. And we need a foreign policy of moral clarity. What does moral clarity mean? Here's what it means. We are reliable to our allies, and our adversaries do not dare test us. I only bring that up because today we have the direct opposite. Is there a better example of it than the state of Israel? Israel is the only pro-American free enterprise democracy in the entire Middle East. There's only one. We treat the Prime Minister of Israel with less respect under this president than we do the radical Shia cleric, the Ayatollah of Iran. That's unacceptable.
Senator Rubio, you've called out, quote, big companies that have connections with Washington because they can affect policies to help themselves. Many would consider sugar subsidies, which you've supported, to be the type of favoritism that you generally reject. Can you explain your position on that?
I'm ready to get rid of them, as long as Brazil does as well, because they're trying to destroy our agricultural system. In essence, they are deliberately undercutting the price of their agriculture, not just sugar, citrus. Why? Because if they can wipe out American farmers, they know that land will be developed. Once they build condos on this land, you can never get it back into agriculture. Now they control the citrus market, now they control the sugar market, then they can charge us anything they want. It's kind of what's happening with oil now with Saudi Arabia. They are overproducing so they can cut the price of oil because they know we can't export oil, so all we can do is sell to ourselves, and because of our own laws, by the way, not because the world won't buy it. And once they can knock out all of these people that explore for oil and natural gas, especially oil, then they control the marketplace again. Agriculture is critically important. They don't just do this, but Brazil in particular does it to those two industries. I am prepared to get rid of that when it comes to trade with any country we have a free trade agreement with. And I'm prepared to pass a law right now that says when Brazil gets rid of its subsidies, we will immediately and automatically get rid of ours. But I'm not going to let Brazil destroy agriculture in America because we have to be able to feed ourselves.
Many supporters of the Export-Import Bank, which you oppose... Many supporters of the Export-Import Bank, which you oppose, make the same argument. We'll get rid of our export subsidies when China and France and other countries do those. why wouldn't that same argument that you just made on sugar subsidies apply on XM?
Yeah, because the difference is we actually have other banks that give loans. In essence, the Export-Import Bank is not the only thing out there that gives loans. 97% of U.S. exports do not rely on the Export-Import Bank, for starters. Number two, there are other vehicles by which you can finance these things. There are no other alternatives when it comes to agriculture. Once the land is gone, you're never getting it back. When it comes to private business like this, an exporter, we have a banking industry in this country. It's become too consolidated because of Dodd-Frank, and that's why Dodd-Frank needs to be repealed. But we have non-governmental avenues for financing exports. And you really want to help exports in America? Why don't you lower regulations, reform and lower the tax code, repeal Obamacare, which is discouraging them from hiring people, not to mention destroying our healthcare system, and allow us to fully utilize our energy resources. That will do a lot more for manufacturing and export than the Export-Import Bank ever did.
Senator Rubio, we're pleased to invite Governor Nikki Haley back to the stage.
Hi, Governor.
Welcome back to South Carolina, Senator Rubio. We're glad to have you. All right, Marco, so this is the question. You and I both cut our teeth at the State House.
Yes.
And sometimes you get a lot of bruises and you get really tough skin when you get elected to a State House. You actually were Speaker of the House, so you had quite a big leadership role and had to push things through and herd the cats to get that done. The biggest frustration that I have, and that this audience has, is we were told if you hire a Republican majority,
right,
everything will change. We hired a Republican majority in both the House and the Senate. And in D.C., nothing has changed.
That's
What
right.
is going wrong?
That's absolutely right. And that's exactly why I'm running for president, and I'll tell you why. It took me a very short amount of time to realize that our problem in Washington is that both political parties, quite frankly, are out of touch. The disconnect between Washington and the American people has never been bigger. Let me tell you the source of the disconnect. I'll tell you the source of the disconnect. It's not that it's evil people. Two things happen. Number one, after some time in politics, people become disconnected from the reality. They forget what it's like to live paycheck to paycheck. They forget what it's like to owe thousands of dollars in student loans they probably never did. They forget how difficult it is for someone who's trying to start a business. Do you realize that for the first time in 35 years, we have more businesses dying in America than starting? In America. And so that disconnect is real, and it exists in both parties. And here's the other thing they lose, the sense of urgency. The urgency to get things done. There is no sense of urgency. The notion is that our job is just to run the process and just make it work better. Some people have more loyalty to the institution they serve in than the country they're supposed to be serving. And so these are the problems that we face. And it's only gotten worse over the last few years, to be quite frank. And what I realized very quickly is you will not be able to change the direction of this country unless you have a president who is in touch, has a vision for the future, and has a sense of urgency about the challenges that we face. Because here's the truth. America remains a great country. There isn't a nation on earth I would trade places with. But thank you very much. I appreciate it. I've never been heckled by a dog, but
That's a new one for all of us.
Yeah. It's a great country. We'll never trade places, but we are on the road to decline. If we continue the road that we are on today, we are going to be the first Americans ever to leave our children worse off than ourselves. That is a completely unacceptable outcome. But that's where we're going to head if we keep electing the same people with the same ideas. We will get the same result. That's why the time has come to turn the page. That's why I support term limits. That's why
And that's what I was going to ask you was, do you support term limits in Washington, D.C.?
We have term limits in Florida, and the sky has not fallen, and no one has died yet. Term limits brings new people into the process. People that believe that things are possible instead of having given up already. That's why in 2009 I chose to run for the Senate, even though the entire Republican establishment in Washington lined up against me. Really, only one person in Washington gave me a chance, and his name was Jim DeMint, and I know he's here today, and I want to thank him. In Florida, only about 5 people gave me a chance, but they all lived in my home. And 4 of them were under the age of 10 at the time. And that's why I chose to run for president.
You know, and I'll tell you the funny thing is when Marco was running for Senate, I was running for governor, and so I was Nikki Who, but you were a little bit more known than I was.
Well, neither one of us was supposed to win, if you remember.
But neither one of us was, and that's the power of the people, which I always love. We share, absolutely, that is always the power of the people. So we share something else in common, in that we are children of immigrants. How do we handle immigration reform?
Well, we don't.
How do we handle immigration reform without dividing our country, without forgetting the fact that the reason this country is so great is because the fabric of our country is from legal immigrants? How do we have that conversation and have reform?
Well, it begins by acknowledging we have three immigration problems. We don't just have one, we have three. Number one, we are the most generous country in the world when it comes to immigration. 1 million people a year legally immigrate to the United States. There isn't a single country in the world that comes close to that number. And yet, despite the fact that we are so generous, there are still people coming illegally. Number two, we have a broken legal immigration system. Our legal immigration system today is built on whether or not you have a relative living here. Not whether you have a skill or a talent or you're going to open a business. It is primarily built on whether or not you have a relative living here. And number three, you do have 11 or 12 million people in this country illegally. And almost half of them came here legally and overstayed a visa. And you have to deal with all three of them. Now, I can tell you from experience, we're not going to fix it all in one big piece of legislation for two reasons. Number one, the issue is too complex. And number two, the American people have had some terrible experiences with massive pieces of legislation. The only way forward is a three-step process. Step number one, before you do anything else, you must prove, not just pass a law that says you're going to do it, you must prove to the American people that illegal immigration is truly under control. And we can do that. It begins by securing the southern border through a wall and through more personnel, but you can't stop there. It's not enough. That alone will not be enough. You also need a mandatory e-verify system, and you need an entry-exit tracking system to prevent people from overstaying visas. After you've done that, the second step will be to modernize our legal immigration system, so that when we admit someone to this country permanently, it will be on the basis of what can they do, what can they contribute, not what relative do they have living here. And more importantly, on the basis of whether they're coming to live in America or coming to be an American. Because we want to bring people here to be an American. I just want to close with it. If we do those two things, after those two things are done, I believe the American people are going to be very reasonable about what do you do with someone who's been here for a long time and isn't a criminal. If you're a criminal, you have to leave. But I don't think we can get to that stage until we've done the other two things. In fact, not only do I not think we can get to that stage, trust me, we cannot get to that stage until we've done the other two things. And I think that's the only way forward. Anyone who says otherwise and tells you you can do it in one massive piece of legislation, they're lying. It isn't true.
Well, and I appreciate your detail on that, because a lot of people, like our parents, my parents, they're offended by those who don't come here legally, that don't pay the price and pay the time that they went through to get here.
Well, if I could add to that, the majority of the calls I get in my Senate offices on immigration are not about people that are here illegally. It's about people that are trying to come legally, and they are frustrated because they know someone who came illegally and is going to get to stay, and they're wondering, well, why did I hire all those lawyers and wait 9 years? And no one ever talks about that part of it either. So that's a real frustration. We hear it in our offices all the time.
When you hear everybody talk about securing the border, and I always say all the candidates are very quick to say secure the border, what does that look like? We need more than what a border security looks like. What does it look like in personnel? What should we expect in cost? What does it look like in equipment? No other candidate has been able to tell us exactly what securing the border looks like except building a wall, and we know it's more than that.
We have to define what the border. The border is not just the border with Mexico. The border is also our airports and, to some extent, our seaports. And that's why an entry-exit tracking system is so critical. America has become a hotel that checks you in but never checks you out. So in essence, when you come on a visa, I know it happens all the time. People come on a visa, and it's a 90-day visa, and they check in, and we know you arrived. But in many places, they never log you out. So we have no idea if you're still here or not. And that's almost over 40% of the problem. In Florida, it's up in the 80% of the problem. So we have to change that. You need a mandatory e-verify system, because that job magnet has to be shut off. That's what allows people to come here, and quite frankly, that's what allows industries to take advantage of this situation. And then there are corridors on the border When you cross the southern border, first of all, the majority of them are now coming from all over the world, primarily in the Americas, Honduras, Guatemala, and El Salvador, because those countries have become very dangerous and they're a mess. They're coming through Mexico and into the United States. That border has corridors that people come across. And the reason why they cross in those specific places is because it's near an interstate highway that takes them into a major city, Phoenix, Tucson, El Paso, you name it. Those are the areas that we need the walls, combined with personnel in the thousands of additional border agents, along with cameras and sensors. We have secured borders all over the world. Israel secured borders. Other countries have done it. We know how to do it. It takes the money and the willingness to do it.
Ladies and gentlemen, a man with the details. Help me thank Senator Marco Rubio.
Thank you very much.
All right, guys, that is a wrap on Marco Rubio's appearance last week at the Heritage Action Forum in South Carolina. It looks like we're going to get a live event and connected to the Pope and his visit to D.C. It looks like some sort of press conference is set up, according to my assignment desk. It appears that there will be a briefing by Father Lombardi from the Marriott Marquis in Washington, D.C., so it looks like we are just waiting for this briefing to start out in D.C. So stay tuned, guys. We have more news now ahead. All right, guys, while we wait for this event to start in Washington, D.C., why don't we go ahead and watch another presidential candidate at that Heritage Action Forum, that same event that Marco Rubio spoke at. Many other presidential candidates spoke at as well on Friday. Again, this was in South Carolina, hence the South Carolina governor, Nikki Haley, being present. Let's go ahead and tune in to Christie's appearance in South Carolina, and we will take you guys live to this event connected to the Pope in D.C. as soon as I see some people on the screen. But in the meantime, we'll be watching this.
Governor, your first question comes from Bill.
All right. Governor Christie?
Yes, sir.
Republicans claim to be the party of limited government. But just this year, they passed an unpaid-for doc fix that expands Medicare by hundreds of billions of dollars. What can you do to encourage members of your own party to live up to their limited government rhetoric, not just in non-binding resolutions, but in the real bills and laws that they pass?
Well, it's a really good question. I think that's why you're seeing the divide between what's happening in the states and what's happening in Washington. I really wonder, I traveled around the country last year, was here in South Carolina a lot for Governor Haley, and in every place where there was a Senate race, I was trying to help Senate candidates as well. And they told us that if they got a Republican majority in the Senate, they would change things. In 2010, they told us they got a Republican majority in the House, they would really be able to stir things up. And what I've found is that those folks go down to Washington and they seem to get amnesia. They forget about all the stuff they said to us back here, and they get down there, and I'm not somebody who opposes compromise, but I oppose capitulation. And that's capitulation. And so the way I can help to change it is to bring an attitude to the Oval Office that I've had in Trenton, New Jersey for the last 6 years. Now let me just say, we're having all this conversation about how there's members of the public who want outsiders. I'm a Republican in New Jersey, man. I'm an outsider every morning when I wake up. Every morning. I have a Democratic legislature, and they send me some of the craziest stuff you're ever going to want to hear in your life. I've now vetoed 400 bills as governor in 5.5 years, 400 vetoes, and every one of those vetoes has been sustained. They haven't overridden one of them, because we stand on our principles, and when they're wrong, we say they're wrong, and that's what should be done in Washington, D.C. The veto pen will get a lot of exercise when I'm President of the United States, the same way it has when I've been governor of New Jersey. And by the way, Americans for Tax Reform just 2 weeks ago came out with a report that said that I've vetoed more tax increases than any governor in American history. Now I need a Democratic legislature to do that, but we've done it. And so what you need to be able to say to members of Congress as the president is we came here based on a certain set of principles, and we're going to adhere to those principles. And we'll talk with the other side and work with the other side when they want to be reasonable, but when they don't, we got to dig our heels in and say no. And I am wondering now why I worked so hard to get a Republican United States Senate if they haven't passed tax reform and put it on the president's desk, if they haven't repealed and replaced Obamacare and put it on the president's desk, and if they can't defund Planned Parenthood and put that on the president's desk. What do we have them there for? And this Medicare thing is the same example. So, bottom line is, if we're waiting for Congress to provide leadership, we're going to be waiting forever. We need to elect a president who will drag them to do the things that the American people are demanding we do. And I think this is our last chance. We better do it now or it's going to be over. So we've got to get it done now.
Governor, let's talk about specifics on entitlement reform. You've talked about raising the retirement age and some means testing. What do you think of the larger structural reforms, like what Paul Ryan has proposed for Medicare or personal accounts and Social Security?
Listen, I think all those things are fine ideas, but they don't get to the root cause of the problem. The root cause of the problem on entitlements is this, everybody, and there's no one else in this race who's talking about this. Everyone else in this race, quite frankly, is scared to talk about it. But you better be concerned about it, because 71% of federal spending right now is on entitlements and debt service. 71%. When John Kennedy was elected president in 1960, entitlement spending and debt service was 26%. And here's the worst part of it. You're paying payroll taxes every 2 weeks in your paycheck, every 2 weeks, and they tell you it's in the Social Security Trust Fund. You remember Al Gore called this a lockbox, right? We remember that. Well, let me tell you something. I've gotten a peek into the lockbox. There's nothing but a stack of IOUs in there. The government has lied to you about the lockbox, and then they've stolen everything out of the lockbox. It's empty. And the reason I gave my first speech in this campaign on entitlement reform is because we have to change the fundamentals of it. We have to raise the retirement age. Now listen, this is a good thing, everybody. It's a blessing. The average age, life expectancy now of a woman in America is 83. The average life expectancy of a man in America is 79. I just saw a couple of you women smile. I want to remind you of something. 10 years ago, the gap was 6 years. Now it's 4. We're gaining on you. And that 4 years of vacation you were expecting at the end of your life, you may be stuck with us for the entire run. But when you have programs that are 83 and 79 in terms of life expectancy, and the programs were created when people lived only to their mid-60s, we need to accept this blessing, take possession of our longer lives, and be realistic. So I say let's raise the retirement age 2 years and phase it in over 25 years. That means it goes up 1 month a year for 25 years. It's not going to affect anybody who's on Social Security right now or right on the edge of it, but it will affect our children and our grandchildren, and it'll make it more solvent for them so the program will actually be there. And second, on means testing, I say if you make over $200,000 a year in retirement income, that means you got $4 or $5 million minimum saved and invested. Do you really need a Social Security check? I mean, listen, I know you paid for it, but here's the choice, because we don't have enough money. Hillary Clinton's solution is going to be to raise Social Security taxes. Now, let me ask you a question. Why would we ever want to give the government that already lied to us and stole from us more money? And she'll say it's only the rich, right? My solution is, for those who have done very well, don't get a benefit at the end if you don't need it. Let's make sure the benefit's there for those people who that check will mean the difference between choosing between rent and heat and food. What America has always stood for is if you work hard, play by the rules, pay your taxes into the system, then we're not going to let you grow old in poverty. But remember something, Harvard and Dartmouth just came out with a study that said Social Security, if we do nothing, will be insolvent in 7 to 8 years. Not 78 years, 7 to 8 years. I'm the only one talking about this. Those other ideas are good ideas in theory. This one will fix the system immediately and give it solvency for the next 35 to 40 years.
Governor, last month you said that as a former prosecutor, you believe, quote, religious institutions should be able to decide how they conduct their religious activity, but the rest of the folks in the United States, presumably including bakers and florists, need to follow the law. Do you believe that America's First Amendment right to freedom of to the free exercise of religion is constrained to the four walls of a church and a synagogue?
No.
Or should practicing Christians be able to be forced to choose between operating their businesses and their beliefs?
No, absolutely not. What I said was, I don't think that's a completely accurate quote, I was talking about people who are government officials, and that folks who are in government have an obligation to do their job. Now, the situation we had in Kentucky, this is where government goes off the rails. There was a simple solution to that before they put that woman in jail, and before they did all the other things they did, and they eventually got to that solution, right? Let someone else in her office issue those licenses. Don't force her to violate her own religious liberty. If those licenses are required to be issued, let someone else do it and protect her First Amendment religious liberty. What I've said is that government has the obligation to do the job and follow the law. But for everybody else, religious liberty is in the First Amendment, and it was put there for a very specific reason. We didn't want the establishment of a religion in this country, and we didn't want the abridgment of the free exercise of religion. We want people to be able to practice what they believe in their hearts and in their souls. And so the government needs to be there not to protect that liberty, but to not interfere with it. And so for the government, if there are laws that we have to enforce, you need to get people who will enforce those laws. But for everybody else, they have to be able to practice their religion the way they see fit. That's what the free exercise clause is all about. And what the establishment clause is all about is to make sure that the government does not interfere with you being able to do that. We do not want a country where someone else's religion is mandated upon us. And we don't want to mandate our religion upon anyone else. We want people to be able to do what they believe in their heart and in their soul is right for them as they observe God, as they see God. That's the kind of country we need to have. That's what we've always stood for. And that's what we not only stood for our citizens, but for the rest of the world. So let's stand up for religious liberty and make sure it's protected for everyone, because tomorrow they could be coming for you or me.
Governor, earlier this year, a family bakery in Oregon was put for refusing to cater a same-sex wedding. Would you support legislation that makes sure that that government takes no course of action against anybody for standing by their personal religious beliefs?
Listen, this is what I was just talking about before. The fact is that we can't allow any types of discrimination in this country. And the left only looks at discrimination coming from one way. There's discrimination that goes in both directions. And that shouldn't be permitted in this country. The free exercise of religion means something. And we need to be able to stand up and do the right thing for folks and protect them. As I said before, because tomorrow they could be coming after you for your religious beliefs. And so I'm not someone who feels as if anyone in this country should be discriminated against. We are a country who believes that people, as long as they're operating within the law, should have the ability to live their lives the way they want to live their lives. And I think that government should do nothing that winds up hurting that goal, because that's at the essence of who we are as a country. And so we can't have those kind of things, and I don't believe that we should.
You've spoken about your experience sending your college-age children to college. Many Americans in the same phase of life as you are worried that their kids are going to end up with a worthless degree and saddled with debt because college costs are rising so dramatically. The left's answer is to subsidize the problem. How would you address higher education as a president?
Well, you know, listen, Mary Pat and I have 4 children. 2 of whom are in college right now. Our oldest son is a senior at Princeton. Our daughter is a sophomore at Notre Dame. and well, you applaud until you hear what the tuition is. This year, for those 2 children of ours, the tuition is $122,000. Just for those 2 children. And we have a 15-year-old and a 12-year-old still coming up from behind. So you know what that means? I'm going to be working for my whole life. Here's the problem, though. For families across this country, they are saddled with enormous debt. Enormous debt. We want our children to get the best education they can possibly get. But here's the problem. Right now, we're sticking it to our children and their families in a few ways. First, the government doesn't allow these kids to refinance their loans. They're paying above market rate interest rates, 7, 8, 9%, and then they're not permitted to refinance it like you'd refinance your mortgage or a car loan if you could get a lower rate. We're making money off of our children. That's immoral in my view, and as president, I will end it. They should be able to refinance their loans and get reasonable rates that the market will bear, not the government. Second, I think our children should have a national service option to be able to serve their communities and our country, and to get credit to pay down those loans in return for it. They'll make our country a better place, and we won't saddle them with huge mortgages as they go out to start their lives so they can't buy a home or get married or begin a family. But that's not the only thing we need to do. We need to get these college costs under control. How many of you out there, raise your hands, how many of you are paying college bills right now? All right. Is it the most opaque bill you've ever seen in your life? It's 3 lines, right? It's a tuition, room and board, other fees. Now, if you all went to a local restaurant tonight and you went out for dinner, and 4 of you went out and the bill came to you at the end of dinner, it was $100, and you flipped it over and it said, food, $100. And that's all it said. You would call the waiter back and say, hey, dude, come here for a second, would you? Could you write out specifically what we got and how much each one of them costs? We demand that level of specificity for a dinner bill of $100, yet I just paid a $62,000 tuition bill off of 3 lines. So 2 things we need to do to get these costs under control. First, these colleges have to be required to tell us what they're spending our money and our children's money on. You know, we don't need, I was in New Hampshire a couple weeks ago. Do you know at the University of New Hampshire they have rock climbing walls? Rock climbing walls. I was outside Mount Washington. I said, you got rocks. Go outside and climb those. What do I need to build you a wall for? But these colleges want to build monuments to themselves in every little way. We need to have them detail for us what they're spending their money on. Secondly, you've got to be able to unbundle that bill and just pay for the things that your kids are going to actually use. That would be a market test on college tuition. The things that people want to pay for, they'll keep. The things that they won't pay for are going to go away. The reason there's no market test and the reason why tuitions are going up so much, when you think about this, Notre Dame this year, their tuition is up 3.9%, and they told us it's the smallest increase in tuition in 40 years. 3.9%. That's more than double inflation. And so we need to put market forces on this because the colleges and universities know we want our kids to be happy and get a good education. They're taking advantage of us. And here's the way I'd get it done. If you're not willing to detail what you're spending your money on, and if you're not willing to allow us to unbundle the bills, then you cannot participate in the federal student loan or student grant programs. You want taxpayer money, you need to be transparent to the taxpayers and the students about what you're spending our money on. That's the way we need to bring our costs down.
Governor, our next question comes from Twitter. Beforehand, I'd note that as governor, while you did withdraw from some interstate environmental initiatives, you also told the coal industry in 2011, quote, there will be no coal permitted in New Jersey. We will no longer accept coal as a new source of power in the state. The question from Twitter is, Obama is winning his war on coal. Governor Chris Christie, what would you do to turn it around?
Well, let me first say that the reason that we said we didn't need coal plants anymore in New Jersey is because we're right next door to Pennsylvania and Marcellus Shale, and natural gas is abundant and cheap and coming to New Jersey. And because we've moved towards natural gas, we now have electricity rates in New Jersey that in the last 18 months are down 9% for consumers. We're building more pipelines and we're being smart about the energy that we're using that's abundant and luckily for us right next door. That's not the case for every place in the country. My view on the energy situation is this. We need to take an approach like New Jersey has taken. So for instance, 53% of New Jersey's electricity is generated by nuclear power. 53%. We need to go back to nuclear because it makes sense, it's cheap, it's inexpensive, and we need to go back and start building nuclear plants again. I talked about natural gas and the fact that we have a 100-year supply of natural gas under the United States, and we have a way to bring it to the surface. We can absolutely transform manufacturing in this country by making our power rates so much cheaper that we can compete with the Chinese on cost because of our lower power rates and create new manufacturing jobs here in the United States. We need to be doing that as part of our energy policy as well. Third, where coal is abundant and can be used, it should be used. There's no reason that it shouldn't be used, and states should have the opportunity to make those judgments as to what energy source is most available to them. And by the way, if you want to win a bet tonight at dinner, ask someone, who are the top 3 solar energy producing states in America? The first 2 they'll get, California and Arizona. The third one is New Jersey. The third highest producing of solar energy in the country. Why? Because we allowed the private sector to come in and make it affordable. And so now businesses and homes in New Jersey are using solar power as another option. We need to be exploring for oil in this country. We need to be exploring for natural gas. We need to be using coal when we can. We've got to revitalize nuclear. And by the way, we're not going to have wind energy in New Jersey. We're the most densely populated state in America. We start putting windmills on land in New Jersey, there's going to be a lot of really angry, cranky people, even more than we have already. We can't afford that. We should use the alternative energies that make sense for each state. In Iowa, it makes sense to have wind power. They have lots of big open space. In New Jersey, we don't. And by the way, offshore wind, no one has shown me yet that it's affordable. And you know who's going to get stuck with the bill if we start doing offshore wind. It's going to be you are going to be stuck with the bill. I've stood up against that in New Jersey. We're not going to let it happen. And one last thing. The northeastern states had a regional cap and trade agreement when I came into office in 2010. Cap and trade by states, all the northeastern states. There's only one of the northeastern states now that doesn't. New Jersey, because I pulled us out of cap and trade because it's a tax on people. It doesn't work. I won't let it happen as governor, and I will not let it happen as president of the United States.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Governor Haley.
Thank you, and welcome back to South Carolina, Chris. It's good to see you.
Great to see you.
So, what does everybody need to know about this man? We owe him a big thank you. And the reason is, when he led the Republican Governors Association, he fought, he won. We now have a Republican governor in Massachusetts. We now have a Republican in Maryland. And guess what? When President Obama goes home to Illinois, we now have a Republican governor in Illinois.
That's right.
He fought hard. He said we could win blue states. He showed us how to do it. But there's certain perceptions people have about blue states. And there's something that I know that you happen to be a very pro-life governor. When you have looked at these Planned Parenthood tapes, what does it do to you and what do you think about it?
Well, I'm the first pro-life governor in New Jersey since Roe versus Wade. And when I ran for governor in New Jersey, that said there was no way I could win because I was pro-life. And they're wrong. They were wrong twice. And the fact is that there are more people in our country who are pro-life than the pollsters and the pundits ever want to admit to. But what they want more than anything else out of their leaders is honesty. What do you believe in my heart? And what I believe in my heart is that every life is an individual gift from God and is precious and needs to be protected. And you know what? We've all seen those Planned Parenthood videos, and I'm not going to go through what they said. You know what they said and what they're doing. Here's the one question that I guarantee you, when I'm the nominee of this party, I will put to Hillary Clinton on the stage in October of 2016 when we're debating. She talks about women's health and us being against women's health, which is completely ridiculous. I say to her, Mrs. Clinton, don't try to change the subject. Here's what I want to know. Are you in favor of the systematic murder of children in the womb in a specific way that allows your organization that you support to maximize the value of their body parts on the open market for profit? Answer it yes or no, Mrs. Clinton. Stop evading the issue. The fact is that no right-thinking person in America believes that we should systematically kill children in the womb and sell their body parts for profit. It is heinous, it is reprehensible, and I will not permit it as President of the United States. And by the way, another reason why the Congress is driving me crazy is that 6 years ago, in one of the bluest states in America, I defunded Planned Parenthood. I vetoed Planned Parenthood funding 8 times. They haven't gotten a nickel in New Jersey for the last 6 years. If I can do it in New Jersey, there's no reason our party can't do it in Washington, D.C. But one last thing I want to remind you, as conservatives and as Republicans, we are the pro-life party, and if we're going to be pro-life, we have to be pro-life for the entire life. It's not enough to be pro-life just when they're in the womb. You know, when they come out, that's when they start to disappoint us, right? And it becomes much harder. We need to be pro-life for the 16-year-old drug addict on the floor of the county lockup, because that life is precious too. That life is an individual gift from God. And that's why I believe in drug rehabilitation. It's a disease and we need to help people. There's probably not a person in this room who hasn't had a family member or a friend or a coworker or a neighbor who's been affected by drug and alcohol abuse, and some that may have lost their lives to it. We can't permit that to continue to happen in this country because every life is precious. Every life is precious. The elderly's lives is precious too. And I will never permit in New Jersey or in this country assisted suicide. It is for God to determine when life is taken, not for us. So, listen everybody, we allow ourselves to play on the Democrats' playing field. They think that pro-life just means for those 9 months in the womb, and they want to have an argument about that. Let me end by reminding you this. Pro-life has to be for the whole life, and when we start talking about those issues as part of a pro-life agenda, we're going to bring more people over to the pro-life side, more people to our cause and our party, and make America a better, safer, and more moral country. That's what I want to do as President of the United States.
Great job. One last question. We talked about, workers and how they all had to focus on their own job. And this has been coming up as everybody's focused on everybody else's job, but everyone across America, especially middle class, they have to focus on their own job. You look back at 1980, and Ronald Reagan won those middle class blue collar jobs. If you look at 2012, President Obama won those middle class blue collar jobs. How did you win in the state of New Jersey those blue collar jobs?
Well, let me just remind you something, okay, to tell you how blue New Jersey is, because I know here in South Carolina you cannot relate to this at all. It's a disorienting thing, so I don't want you to get dizzy and fall over, but just listen to this now. We have 750,000 more registered Democrats than Republicans. We had not elected anyone, any Republican, to statewide office before I ran in 2009 in 12 years. And we have not elected a Republican to the United States Senate in 43 years. It's the longest streak of any state in America. So don't tell me California or New York is bluer than us. There's no one bluer than the state of New Jersey. So what am I doing here? Am I a historical accident? What happened? I'll tell you what happened. I spoke my mind. And the way you get to middle-class voters is if they believe that you're telling them the truth as you see it, whether they like it every day or not. If they believe that when you tell them you're going to do something, you'll do it, and when you tell them you won't, you won't. And when you reach out to other people of all different stripes, and you don't change your story when you get there. That's what they're used to from politicians. So when I'm in front of a group where I know there's a bunch of pro-choice people, I don't say I'm pro-choice. I tell them I'm pro-life. You can disagree with me if you want, but this is who I am. When I walk into a place where I know they like bigger government, I don't change my story. I tell them that we eliminated 800 programs as governor of New Jersey and have vetoed every tax increase, because if they don't like that, then there's going to be someone else to vote for. And what have the results of all this been when they said that I was an accident in 2009 just because John Corzine was an awful governor? And believe me, he was. We do benefit from who we run against. 4 years later, they said they were going to take me out. What happened 4 years later? I was reelected with 61% of the vote in a state like New Jersey. Pundits in this country say that we can't win Hispanic voters. I won 51% of the Hispanic vote in New Jersey when I was reelected. We won 22% of the African American vote, up from 9%, and running against an 18-year female state senator, we won 56% of the female vote. Whether you are black or white or Hispanic, whether you're a man or a woman, you know what you want from people in public office? For them to work hard and tell you the truth and not pander and change their story. They'll vote for anybody who does that for them, and that's what I'll do as president.
Ladies and gentlemen, he's not just a fighter, he's a winner. Help me welcome Governor Chris Christie.
Thank you.
What a night. Did y'all have fun? We've got a lot of work to do if we're going to take back America. And it starts with an informed citizenry that's holding politicians accountable. We heard some great messages, but what the job that the Sentinels on this floor do is they're holding politicians accountable to Washington, D.C. Thank you all, Sentinels, for being here today.
All right, that is a wrap on Chris Christie's appearance at the Heritage Action Forum on Friday in South Carolina. Joining me is Dave Munsey. Dave, I was expecting a huge downpour yesterday.
I think we all were. We had some, but they were all south of us. We had a little bit up north, but yeah, not too much. Not too much as far as the valley goes. The low pressure system that was a tropical depression at one point that had all this moisture wrapped around it stayed to the south of us. We've seen that before. We've seen it do it before. Didn't expect it to happen this time, but that stuff does happen, and we do miss it sometimes. Still a chance for rain tonight out there. I don't think we're looking at flooding or anything like that. But
sorry for building the hype, guys. And
well, you know, I'm not going to say that. I would never say that because what we go on the information that we have at the time, and the information we had at the time was a huge mass of moisture south of Arizona, and a low pressure system working it in this direction. If you notice the places that really got hit, places down south with as much as 2 inches of rain, they got hit pretty good. There was flooding in a lot of areas down to the south of us. So if it had come on track and had done what we thought it was going to do, yeah, then you would have needed all of the preparations that we were preparing for. And the thing is I would rather err in being prepared than not be prepared. So it's not. Yeah, I don't apologize for anything. I mean, this happens a lot in my career where you're predicting something that doesn't happen. It's weather. It's nature. It's one of those things that. It can go left, it can go right, it can go north, and it can go south, and this time it went south.
What if someone changes their whole wedding, for example, based on your weather prediction? You changed their lives.
No, I didn't change their lives. I changed a couple of hours out of their day, and they might have moved from outside to inside or something like that. Huh?
Outside's better, though.
Pictures are better inside, so...
Good argument. Good argument. I feel like you've dealt with this before, Dave Munsey.
Well, you know, the thing is you see what's out there, and then you make the call according to that. And the call was that this was a lot of moisture, which it was, and that it was coming north, which it was. And then at the last minute, it decided to track east, which these storms do sometimes. And so that's what happened there. But yeah, it's one thing. It's better to be prepared for something that doesn't happen than to be not prepared for something that does happen. So words of wisdom.
Dave Munsey.
Yeah, well, you know, I don't like it any more than anybody else when it doesn't happen. When you're looking and you're making predictions and they don't happen. When I got up on Monday, I was kind of looking at the sky going, this isn't what I expected. Although it was raining, it wasn't raining.
The weather was really nice this morning, though.
Yeah,
when I came in,
it wasn't bad. It was nice. A
little
humid.
Well, I haven't felt temperatures that low in Arizona since April. It was really nice when I walked in at 7 a.m.
Oh, temperatures are changing.
It was very nice.
Things are changing.
See Frankie in the chat room saying, "Good afternoon, Dave. How's our forecast looking?"
Let me change maps here, and we can give you a look
Let me hide us so that they can see the map.
What's going on. You can see down by Yuma, pretty big storm system sitting down by Yuma right now.
We're not in Yuma.
There are some advisories and warnings down in that area, and you can see Phoenix. Look up by Surprise in Wickenburg. There's a little something that would love to sneak into that area right there. Yeah, so you can see there's abundant moisture around the state. Take a look at that system that runs all the way up to Prescott, up to some of those areas north of us, the Verde Valley, place like that. So there's still some pretty good storms out there. Look up north. There's pretty good storm action up there.
I guess just not here in
Got
Phoenix.
a little bit of action in the east, but we do have some stuff that is somewhat threatening to Phoenix. You can kind of see it up there just west of the city. So yeah, we'll keep our eye on it and see what's going on tonight as well. And of course, there's going to be a chance of rain in the forecast tonight, like always. What do we have here? 8 days left in the monsoon.
Oh wow!
What is today? What's the date today? 22nd.
Yes. It's
Yeah.
the 22nd.
So we have 8 days left in the monsoon.
Ale in the chat room says, Samia, can we get a visual towards the northwest? Multiple heavy clouds are moving in towards Glendale. Can we move northwest?
Well, I don't. That's not a camera. That is that's a radar picture. But let me see what I have programmed into that, as far as a shot on that area right there. See, yeah, you can kind of see some of the things that are happening. That is a storm system on the west side right there that we're keeping our eye on right now.
The only visual I have is this, which is beautiful. It
Oh,
looks like
yeah,
the
it
opening
does.
scene of The
Yep.
Simpsons.
Yeah.
Doesn't it?
Yeah, it
but
is.
This is
There
real
it
life,
is.
guys. This is Phoenix outside right
There
now.
it is.
Even when I went to lunch, I saw all the clouds and it was so fluffy and beautiful.
And then you look way in the back there, you'll see that's that storm system way back there. If that is,
This is the the tower cam.
yeah, on the tower cam. So yeah, it is a pretty day out there, but even pretty days can be interrupted with a little bit of rain. So we'll see how we go from there. I think that once we get through this evening, and once we start working our way toward the weekend, we're going to dry things out, and have a little turnaround as far as our weather is concerned. Get away from the wet stuff for a little bit, and as we get out of September and we start getting into October, that's the time of year that it will dry out a lot more. But yeah, it's too bad we didn't get what we were expecting to get in some ways. In other ways, you know, I was thinking of some of some people were making some comments about not getting it, and I was thinking, are they upset over the fact that other people didn't get flooded? Because that's really what we were looking at. It's a good thing that it didn't happen to the extent that we thought that it might happen. But we sure need the rain, but we don't need neighborhoods in Mesa to be flooded again, and we don't need mud running up at New River again, and things like that. And South Mountain, remember South Mountain, that last storm we had, it was flooded up there too.
Oh, man.
So yeah, it's actually a good thing it didn't come in at the rate that we wanted it to. But yeah, I'm disappointed it didn't happen. That's too bad that we didn't see what we were expecting.
It's okay. We still have another week left.
Oh yeah.
Anything's possible.
And tonight, there's always a chance of rain. We are in the monsoon.
Always a 20% chance, right?
That's right. What have you got for me today?
Well,
the Pope's visit.
the Pope is
I did see him
visiting.
land.
There's the Volkswagen emissions scandal.
Yeah.
There's drugs and Alzheimer's agitation and how the two are connected.
Mm-hmm.
Solar trash cans.
Well, let's take a look.
Let's do so. Everything else is kind of like
Okay.
death. If you follow. Solar trash cans. This is out of Colorado. Let's pull this up. Give me a second, guys.
Okay. You got a lot of buttons to push here.
So many buttons.
Fractions bring Sarah Warren to Wash Park.
Ride bikes. We used to live right nearby and jog around it all the time, but now it's more for the playground.
But there's another attraction most people pass by without a second thought. It's a solar-powered Big Belly trash can, and Denver has 44 of them in 26 parks.
Do you see the trash can? I put your trash in there.
The solar panel on one of these Big Bellies activates a trash compactor, which means one of these can hold the same amount of garbage as 5 of these. And when they're full, the smart trash cans alert the city via email.
Instead of going to a park 4 times a week or 7 times a week, you can go, on average, our staff has been going once a week. So you actually are saving on not only the number of trash cans that you're emptying, but you're saving on the number of times that you're going.
They each cost about $4,000. Some taxpayers wonder if that's wasteful.
Seems a little steep.
But the city says by the end of 10 years, the trash cans will save about $200,000, freeing up workers to do other jobs. Sarah Warren says there's an added bonus.
It seems to keep the squirrels away, which is an important feature in trash collection.
Yet another attraction here that's not always so obvious.
I have an adversarial relationship with the squirrels.
At Wash Park, Tammy Vigil, Fox 31 Denver.
That was a really cute squirrel.
I think that's a good idea, too. Yeah, why not compact it? That's funny, somebody hadn't thought of that before. I guess it's getting the mechanism remote to be able to do that. But yeah, if they're saving $200,000 a year and they're $4,000 a piece, I think the math on that, as long as you don't buy 100,000 of them, is pretty good.
That's true.
Yep.
Well, as you mentioned, the Pope is in town. Pope
Yes, he
visited.
is. Not this town, but Washington.
That's true, in this country. We streamed his arrival live a couple of hours ago. It seems now that there is an event taking place. Let me get the exact information. Briefing by Father Lombardi from the Marriott Marquis in Washington, D.C. Apparently, that's what's happening right now. So we're going to go there.
Okay.
Any thoughts on the Pope's arrival before we go to that live event?
No, I think it's interesting. He is a world leader, and he is a world leader of a certain nation, and that's the Catholic nation. And so, no, I think that with this, as many Catholics and Christians in the world that look to him, it's good that he comes around and visits with people and lets us know what he's thinking, and we let him know what we're thinking as well. You know, the world is getting closer and closer and closer, and we have to be closer and closer with all of the leaders of the entire world. So, no, it's good he's here. We need to bring more world leaders here.
You want to see the video of his arrival?
Yeah, I watched it. Isn't that a pretty
Show it to
dress?
you again.
You know, like that dress? Isn't that pretty? I mentioned to my wife when I saw it, I said, oh, look at those colors.
The Pope, that's President Obama.
I know.
But the
Yeah.
Pope is coming.
He's on his way. He's at the top of the stairs, I
There
believe.
he is coming up. Pope. Dun dun dun. Dun 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 dun. There
And
he
there he
is.
comes.
And the crowd goes wild. The cheers.
Well, he is a very different Pope, and people have feelings about him in very different ways. And one of them is great emotion, and you can hear that in the crowd.
There he is, shaking the hand of President. What are they chanting?
I'm not sure.
Sounds like Francis Pope. Francis, what is it?
Here's from the family. And now he's going to meet Grandma.
Joe Biden.
Yeah, and I
Joe
think
Biden
that,
is Catholic.
I think the vice president had his grandchildren there as well. There's his
And
wife
Jill. Joe Biden.
and his kids.
Possibly a future president.
Yeah.
Lots of handshaking.
Yeah, they
Pope's
do
got to
that.
keep some hand sanitizer around. You know? All right, Dave. Well, thanks for giving us a weather update.
Okay.
I'm going to send the viewers now live to this event in D.C.
All
so they
righty,
can hear
I'll
this
come back
Pope
if anything
briefing.
pops up, okay?
You let us know if rain happens.
I sure will.
Thanks, Mr. Munsey. All right, we're going live to
Central
D.C.
System, Park Police, Capitol Hill Police, and a special way to all the people of Washington. In this time where many are affected by the visit, I'm very grateful that they have provided such a warm and hospitable welcome to our holiness, to our Holy Father, His Holiness, and very grateful for that today, and anticipate more in the coming days. I also want to express thanks for the staff and the volunteers of the Archdiocese of Washington, the USCCB, the Shrine and the Catholic University of America for all that they've done to help pull everything together. So I start with these remarks speaking about thanks. I've always been taught to begin any endeavor with a sense of gratitude for blessings, even as we ask for blessings upon the activities to come. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now take questions from the media. To indicate that you have a question, please raise your hand and our staff will guide you to the microphones. When you're at the microphone, please give us your name, the name of the outlet you represent, and to whom you're addressing the question. Okay.
Hello, my name is Michelle Borstein from the Washington Post. Welcome. I wanted to clarify something that was quoted from the plane for those of us who weren't there. Obviously, you know there'll be a lot of interest in this comment, which is the Pope talking a little bit about whether or not he is a little bit to the left. Can you explain a little bit about what he was asked and what he meant? It sounded like he was asked in some context about economics. Could you just clarify a little bit more about what was said?
Yes, I think that he has answered the question that already in other times and occasion was done, and the center of his answer is I have never said something anything less or more than what is in the social teaching of the Church. It is, I am in this line, in this tradition. I have not said something that is more left or more right than what is in the compendium of the social doctrine of the Church, and I think obviously that this is true. And he also recalled an answer he has given to someone that asked him after the speech to the popular movement in Bolivia, and they said to him, you are proposing directions in the engagement of the social service in the Church and so on. Do you think that the Church will follow you? And then he said, no, the Church has not to follow me. I am following the Church. It is, I am following what the tradition of the Church is in the social teaching. And this is what I am doing. Obviously, there are many people that have not known maybe in the complexity and the richness of this teaching of the Church and have interpreted it in a limited way. But the Pope has stressed that he is in this clear tradition. Obviously, as we know, he has always stressed very much the theme of the solidarity of the. He uses also maybe some expressions that are characteristic for him. He speaks now from social friendship, in the sense that this solidarity and this attention to the order in building together the society is something that has to do with the friendship, with human relations, with concrete relation among persons. And maybe this is something characteristic that he adds to classical, theoretical presentation of the social thinking of the Church. Or I think that also in the last encyclica he has developed the church teaching, church social teaching, addressing in particular new question of the world of today, like the yes, the environment crisis and so on that are now more crucial maybe as in the past, but always in the direction of the tradition of the teaching of the church. This is what he has stressed again today during this little conversation, I think.
Thank you.
My name is Irina Gilevska. I'm correspondent for the Macedonian TV here in Washington, D.C. Father Lombardi, this is a question for you. You probably know that Macedonia is the land of Mother Teresa. Can you tell us whether the Pope plans to visit Macedonia?
Well, the Pope has not yet a clear agenda of the visit for the next years that is known or public, and I think there is no fixed agenda. The only trip that are already clear and decided are Africa in November and Krakow for the World Youth Day in the next year. Other trips are not decided. But it is interesting what you say, because we have seen that that the Pope for the visit in Europe has chosen as first Albania and then Bosnia-Herzegovina, Sarajevo, and then there are two in the Balkans Peninsula as Macedonia. And then the Pope has a particular attention to this region, I think, and therefore I cannot exclude that he in the future will be attentive to this request. But actually there is no project of a visit to Macedonia.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Gretchen Crow, our Sunday visitor. Father Lombardi, the World Meeting of Families began today in Philadelphia, and Pope Francis mentioned this morning in his meeting with families, he asked everyone to pray for the World Meeting and for the upcoming Synod. So I'm just wondering, how will the Holy Father be monitoring the events in Philadelphia throughout the week, and how will he be emphasizing family life while he's in the United States? Thank you.
Yes, I think he is surely very interested. As you know, the first decision of this visit to the United States was due to the World Families Day in Philadelphia, before the invitation to the Congress, before the invitation to the United Nations Assembly, and then therefore is surely very, very important for him. And it is, we have to see it, this participation of the Pope to this World Family Day in the context also of the Synod, the past Synod and the next Synod, the Synod on the Family, that will begin exactly 1 week after the conclusion of the World Family Day. And the encounter with the families this morning in Santiago de Cuba, I think was decided exactly to stress a continuity of the visit in Cuba with the visit in the United States. And I think that the speech that the Pope has given this morning for the family in Santiago is really precious, really very, very wonderful, very interesting. I think you have to read it and to take it as a document also for the meeting in Philadelphia. I think the Pope is informed of what happens, and he will follow also in these days, the first days of the meeting, but he will come then at the end with his contribution with all his heart, obviously. But the intensity of the homily of this morning was for me very, very impressive. He's really characteristic of his way to appreciate the importance of the family as formation of the humanity and in many concrete aspects. I counsel you really to read the text because it's fantastic.
Thank you. Your Eminencies, good afternoon. Muy buenas tardes. Bienvenido a Estados Unidos, Padre Lombardi. La pregunta mía es la siguiente. Sin duda que la visita del Papa Francisco a Cuba fue histórica, pero mi pregunta es, ¿el Vaticano, ustedes, el Papa Francisco, está al tanto de antes de la llegada de él a La Habana, hubo golpizas, hubo arrestos? ¿Están al tanto de la represión en Cuba?
I think that there are information that arrived to the Vatican and to the Pope. And there is a nuncio in Cuba that follows what happens, and then in this sense there are information. There was also the information of 3,000 and more people that were freed in these days as a sign of goodwill, I think, in the preparation of this visit. In this sense, the situation may be with ambiguous signs. But yes, there is a awareness of the problems, and therefore, three popes have traveled to Cuba and have given an important contribution for the to help the church to be alive in a difficult situation and to encourage it to be a contribution for the renewal and of a society. And I think that is really an institution that can help and to move forward and to change and to promote creativity in the direction of the development of a society of participation, of freedom, and of dialogue and reconciliation. And in this sense, if you listen really well to the speech of the Pope in Cuba, you find several clear references to this encouragement of the Pope to go forward in this direction. And the Pope is always aware that he has a particular, a specific responsibility that is moral and religious and not directly political, but he stresses always that from the faith everyone has to develop his responsibility and his creativity to contribute to the well-being of the society. In this sense, I think the popes have given a contribution, and I think that we are also witness that something is happening exactly with this renewal of contacts now between Cuba and the United States. Otherwise, we would not have also this new element with us. And I think that the Pope had decided to have this trip from Cuba to the United States also to stress this situation and to encourage a progress in this direction.
Thank you. Okay, so my name is Angela. I'm from Radio Maria España, and my question is addressed to Father Lombardi. So you mentioned before that the Pope came in a humble attitude to receive. And so what is he really expecting to receive from America? Thanks.
We will listen to what the Pope says in his speech. Normally, I am not a prophet, and I am always encouraging to listen. The Pope will have many interesting speeches, and I think that he will also express appreciation for the history of the American nation and of the American church, the church in the USA. And if the Pope expresses appreciation, it means that he thinks that he and the Universal Church receives an exchange of gifts also from the American people and faithful. And in this sense, there is really an impressive work of charity, of education, and I think that you would know better than I also these positive aspects that are here. And this is surely a important contribution for the problem of the world of today and of the life of the church. I think that the question that we have to address is a question of responsibility. In this land, there is a great power of the intelligence, of the science, of the reflection, of the economy, and the many aspects of creativity in the enterprises. And this can help very, very much the progress if it is put to the service of the common good, to the service of the people that are poor or in difficult situation, of the lands that are more poor than others. In this sense, I think the Pope appeals surely the richness that are of resources and of good resources that are here to be put at the service of the common good of the mankind.
Thank you.
Hi, it's to Father Lombardi. I'm Cláudia Trevisan from the Brazilian newspaper, O Estado de São Paulo. I'd like to know if we are going to see at some point of the trip the Pope defend the end of the U.S. economic embargo on Cuba. And also, what are going to be the main topics of the conversation that he will have with President Obama tomorrow? Thank you.
Well, as I have said, I am not a prophet in the sense that I don't anticipate what has to happen and what the Pope has to say about the problem of the embargo. I think that the Pope in the plane has done a little reference to this, saying that he will not address specifically this point in his speech. This does not mean that he does not address the process of renewal of the relation, but not concretely the point of the embargo, I think. Also because there are now, come si dice, trattative fra gli Stati Uniti e la Cuba. Treaties. Yes, there are contacts and bilateral contacts to solve problems. In the sense, the Pope does not propose particular concrete policies or solutions. It is to the dialogue, but he encourages always the process altogether. But he has also recalled, as I have recalled many times, that the position of the Church, of the Catholic Church, and of the popes, of the past popes, about the question of embargo is clear. They have criticized this clearly as a source of suffering for the people. And then this is already said by the predecessor of Pope Francis, and it is a clear position of the Church, criticism too about the embargo. But it is not said that he will address this specifically in the next days.
Thank you. Mario Platero, Il Sole 24 Ore, a daily in Italy. I'd like to go back to the question of capitalism. Father Lombardi, thank you for your answer before. Indeed, the Church has been sort of stuck in a doctrine for a while that has not been considered by many in favor of capitalism, and the Church in general. But I wonder what the American Church thinks about those positions. We've read several opinions that were worried about calling and defining capitalism as the devil or a culture of idols. I'm not sure whether 80 million of American Catholics would think the same thing. And I'd like to hear also, if possible, from Cardinal DiNardo what his position or the American bishops are with some positions that have been considered by some extremes, and also from Father Lombardi, of course. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, no, my commentary is that I think that the sense of a briefing is not to discuss the contents of the doctrine in particular. This is to give information and a short answer about what will happen. And these questions are obviously addressed also in the content of the speech and of the document of the Pope. We can read and study the Laudato Si and not give now a substantial answer to your question. But yes, as I have said, the Pope stresses that he is in the line of the tradition of the social doctrine of the Church. He thinks it is not driving in a bad direction a substantial tradition in this sense.
Thank you for your question. There is no, it certainly is true that the United States is a place of intense financial investment, finance, economics. We have New York City as like a symbol, I think, when it comes to that. The United States is not monochromatic, however, in its appreciations and understanding of the various things that happen in the economy. The bishops of the United States have always pointed out that what we deal with in the marketplace is important, but we can never lose sight of the human person and what happens in the human person and how we deal with the poor or those who are looking for a better life, the disparity at times between the rich and the poor. We may not be as angular in that sense of stating matters as might be true maybe in some other countries. But we've always been aware of the poor and the importance of the financial community to sense that working and helping those who are poor to have a decent wage, decent living across the boards is good for the economy. It's not bad. We're not economists per se, but that's, to my mind, the United States in many ways in its culture and its finances and its mode of governing has a lot of tensile strength, and it tends, as I say, not to be as monochromatic as sometimes people present it. It goes in waves. And the bishops of the United States, I think, are very intent that we be mindful, particularly in our culture today where there are such incredible growing disparities of rich and poor, of this issue, without necessarily going into all the details. At least I myself do not feel overly competent beyond going on those general but I think important statements.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jennifer Lee Oberhori, and I'm a reporter with the Medill National Security Journalism Initiative out of Northwestern University. And my question is for Father Lombardi. Earlier in the press conference, you had stressed the Holy Father's desire to communicate the idea of peace. So on that note, and seeing as how he's about to speak with both President Obama and the Congress, I was wondering if you could comment as to whether the Holy Father plans on addressing the issue of American involvement in Iran, Syria, or Iraq in any way. Thank you.
Yes, as I have said before, you have to listen what the Pope will say. I have not to anticipate what the Pope will say. And then otherwise there is no surprise, there is no interest. And then please listen, and you will see which problem he will address explicitly, which problem he will address not so explicitly, but are addressed, and so on. It will be very interesting.
I think we have time for one more question.
Hi, this is Victor Ramos. I'm a reporter with Newsday, New York. It's another anticipatory question in a way. I know you can't dwell on specifics, but can you tell us maybe what are the top issues on the agenda of the Pope? There's been talk about immigration, about furthering the agenda of the encyclical on the environment, about the economy's impact on the poor. Are we getting it right in predicting that those are the top issues? And if I may just throw in a simple question, can you tell us a little bit about the exchange today between the Pope and President Obama when they met?
Well, I think that if we take together the address to the Congress and the address to the United States, we will find really a lot of issues, United Nations, excuse me, a lot of issues, and I think it is rather obvious that also in the address to the United Nations, the question of the environment and of the address of the immigration will come. This is clear. There are such a fundamental question of today that this is not possible that the Pope comes and speaks, I don't know about what, and this obviously he will speak about also about the environment and about immigration. We will see how and when and in which terms, but it is clear that he will speak about this. Obviously, I think that Laudato Si, this important encyclica, is actually a basis of reference of many speeches, of many addresses of the Pope. And then if you read the encyclica, you find the wide range of questions of today, and you find all what you have mentioned. And in a particular synthesis, I think this is wonderful of this encyclica, that this equilibrium of synthesis and of the different aspects of the environment and the social crisis and the economy and so on. This is really wonderful. And well, and you will find many echoes of these aspects also in the speech of the Pope in the next days. And for the meeting with President Obama, I don't know. Normally these encounter are also private, have a private dimension. And I have seen this in a characteristic way in this pontificate, because the Pope Francis has a charisma in the personal encounter with other persons, also big political leaders. And he approached the other as a concrete person, not so much as a political leader that has a particular ideology, I don't know, but is a concrete person and meets this person, and the person meets a pope as a concrete man. This is something wonderful, and very often this is another way to approach the big question and to find ways to solve something. If you have got a personal approach and a personal feeling and sympathy that helps to understand maybe the credibility and the sincerity of the order. In this sense, I think every leader that has a meeting with the Pope does this experience, a personal encounter. I think this is maybe more important, if I can say, than an agenda of points that I could indicate. They will speak, they will talk about something, this is obvious. But what is more important is not the conceptuality, I think, of the conversation, of the talks, but the personal encounter and the appreciation of the personality of the order. That can be the premise to obtain good result also in the following times. Why can a person as the Pope send a letter to someone proposing to do something new? Because he has built a personal relation that can be the premise for him to ask or to propose something new to happen. I don't know if this is clear. Well.
Thank you. Thank you, Father Lombardi. I know we have many more questions, but we will have the opportunity for another briefing tomorrow after the Mass of Canonization at approximately 8 p.m. Father Lombardi's graciously agreed to be with us again. He'll be joined by Archbishop Joseph Kurtz, who's the president of the USCCB. A couple of other housekeeping notes. Please remember that the text of the speeches will be posted at media.uspapalvisit.org. When the Vatican releases those, we will have those available online. We are not distributing paper copies in the press room, so they will be available to you digitally. And secondly, just again, a housekeeping note, we are continuing to distribute credentials tomorrow here at the Union Station Room. If colleagues have yet to pick up their credentials, they need to do that tomorrow. We will not be distributing credentials on Thursday. That is a change in the initial program that we had released. So thank you all for your time, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Yes,
I'm sorry, you're
in the name of the Bishops' Conference of the United States, thanks to all of you, but we are asking for blessings today upon the Jewish community. This is the day of Yom Kippur. We pray for them in this day of atonement that the Lord will continue to bless them.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
All right, everybody, so that was the press conference, and a big day. The Pope has arrived, and some of the religious leaders were doing a briefing just on everything that the Pope is going to be doing for his 6 days here. Of course, Fox News Now will have complete coverage, including Samia, who will be here at 6 in the morning for a very, very early stream, and right now she is trying to learn Snapchat. So that's how she is getting ready for her evening before the big event tomorrow. And of course, Fox News Now will be streaming everything Pope related, so be sure to check out that. Well, we got a lot of news coming up here. It's coming up on 4 o'clock, and I'll be here with you until about 5, and then we'll part ways until 6:30 when the new stream will start, and we got a whole big show there for you. So be on the lookout for that, because the Mo Money pawn shop owner speaks for the first time. Spoke to our Ty Brennan, and it's a great interview and kind of gives you a great insight into what this investigation to this freeway shooter entails. So be on the lookout for that. That's going to be right at the top at 6:30. But I do want to get to some other news that was happening local here. We're going to start with some local news, and boy, you got to love these kind of stories when the burglar just messes with the wrong house. That's what happened today. A burglar in the area of 35th Ave and Indian School really messed with the wrong house because he thought he was going to be all sly. I'm gonna try to get in this house. Well, turns out not the case. I'm going to show you this press conference from the police. If I can get it here for you. Here we go. Here it is.
The young man warned him that he had the gun and told him to leave. The man continued to try to attempt entry into the home. The homeowner perceived a second threat from the subject and then fired a shot at the subject. The subject then bounded over the back wall into the alley, and police were called. So the subject has been transported to the hospital. It's at this point, the subject is not expected to survive his injuries, but I don't have a updated condition on his injuries. The homeowner is still on scene.
So he was shot twice?
He was shot. I'm not sure how many times it was that he was shot, but he was definitely shot.
Was the suspect armed in any way? Do we know?
That's continuing. The officers on scene are continuing to investigate what it was, the threat that the homeowner perceived, and why it was that he shot.
Did he perceive that broken glass to be some kind of a threat?
He heard broken glass, which is also what drew his attention to the activity in the backyard when he went to investigate. He reported that the subject was actively trying to make entry into the home through the window.
Do you know where the suspect was hit?
On his body.
What happens now? I mean, as a homeowner, could potentially face charges, but not. It's kind of a tough one to sort through.
Well, at this point, we know that the subject that was on his property did not have permission to be on the property. The subject was actively trying to make entry into the home, according to the homeowner. The homeowner felt the threat and then took action at that point. So investigators will continue to speak with the homeowner to get full details. If the subject survives, then of course a statement will be taken from him.
It appears at this point the homeowner acted appropriately.
Well, again, that's going to be part of the investigation. When the subject did not belong on the home, the homeowner perceived the threat that someone was actively trying to make entry into his home.
You mentioned he was elderly. Do you know anything about how long he's been here, if he lives here alone? We heard that his sister owns the house. Do you know anything about that?
I don't have any of that information.
Do you know where was he shot? Actually inside the house, or is out just right outside the house?
The subject was outside the house. The homeowner was inside the home and reported that the subject was actively trying to make entry into the home.
And then did he threaten? You said there was a threat, or is it just the trying to get into the home that was a threat, or did they exchange words that you know?
The homeowner warned the subject that he had a gun and to leave, and the subject continued to try to make entry. The homeowner did report that he perceived a threat from the subject and fired.
Just to clarify what you said at the beginning, so the guy is in the backyard. At that point, he's normal, not shot. The homeowner shoots him.
The homeowner was inside the house and heard what he thought was somebody in the backyard. Went and also heard glass breaking. Went to the rear of the home to investigate and saw a subject actively trying to make entry into his home. He retrieved the handgun, went back and challenged the subject to warn him that he had a gun, told him to leave.
Did he say if he was trying to come in through a window, through a back door? Do you know what it was?
Yes, through a window.
Did he shoot him through the window?
It appears that the subject was reaching in through the window, partially in the window, trying to make entry actively through the window when the shot was fired.
And he shot from the backyard? The guy, or from inside the house to the guy?
From inside the house.
Okay.
call after he was shot, or did someone else report his hands in the backyard?
The call came from the homeowner.
Where was the alleged burglar shot?
After the shot took place, the subject made his way over the fence and into the alley. Made it a short distance. He was shot on his body, right.
Do we know head, chest, anything like that?
At this point, it's unknown. I don't have that information for you right now.
And just the one subject, nobody else he's working with? Okay.
Correct.
Do you know if they expect to survive? Or?
At this point, the person who was shot is not expected to survive, but I don't have an updated injury condition.
Do you know how close?
I was told approximately about 5 houses to our west.
Do you know how close in contact they were? Do you know if they were actually physically able to touch each other, or how close it was?
It sounds like the shot was fired in close proximity.
Thanks. Thank you.
Wow, so it's an altercation that this suspect looks like he might not survive, and it looks like the homeowner did everything he could. He warned him, "Hey, I'm armed," and the suspect still tried to gain entry, and that's when the homeowner shot some bullets at him. So that is the story with that situation. Just a homeowner who just wanted to stand, protect his home, and obviously that's what you got to do sometimes when these people are trying to come at your house. Another story in California where a whole family had to fight off an intruder. Take a look at this as I set up this story. This is another bizarre story as another family, this time a whole family, had to fight off this intruder. Take a look. This is a pretty good video.
Face down and tied up with a stereo cord. That's how LAPD officers found their suspect this morning after he'd been taken down by the North Hills family, who say the stranger wandered into their home at 2 o'clock this morning and began attacking them.
You don't know this guy.
I don't know.
He's a stranger.
Yes, he tried to get inside the house.
With a knife.
Yeah, with a knife in the space, pepper, and then the hammer.
He had a knife, a hammer, and pepper spray?
Yes. And according to the family who lives here, the stranger, who was wearing plastic gloves and rambling incoherently, was in a violent rage.
This gentleman produced a knife and then produced a hammer and then started hitting the victim in the head with a hammer.
And hit him, he did, say witnesses, smashing in his forehead with that hammer as he simultaneously tried to stab him. But when the rest of the family woke up to the sound of screaming, they quickly turned the tables on their attacker and brought him down.
It is citizen action. I mean, it's your home. You got to protect your home. And I mean, they didn't go overboard with him. They just tied him up and held him down, and they did an excellent job. Picked the wrong house.
All right, everybody, so that's another family just standing their ground and protecting what, obviously, another intruder trying to get into a house, and that intruder messed with the wrong house. I am going to take you now to live footage right here. We got breaking news up in California where there is a rescue for a dog. Take a look at this. So we have a dog rescue underway in California. I'm going to be working to get you some details right here. Stay tuned, everybody.
Citizen action. I mean, it's your home. You got to protect your home, and I mean, they didn't go overboard with him. They just tied him up and held him down, and they did an excellent job. Picked the wrong house.
Face down and tied up with a stereo cord. That's how LAPD officers found their suspect this morning after he'd been taken down by the North Hills family, who say the stranger wandered into their home at 2 o'clock this morning and began attacking them.
You don't know this guy.
I don't know.
pepper and a hammer. He had a knife, a hammer, and pepper spray?
Yes. And according to the family who lives here, the stranger who was wearing plastic gloves and rambling incoherently was in a violent rage.
This gentleman produced a knife and then produced a hammer and then started hitting the victim in the head with a hammer.
And hit him, he did, say witnesses, smashing in his forehead with that hammer as he simultaneously tried to stab him. But when the rest of the family woke up to the sound of screaming, they quickly turned the tables on their attacker and brought him down.
It is citizen action. I mean, it's your home. You got to protect your home. And I mean, they didn't go overboard with him. They just tied him up and held him down, and they did an excellent job. You know, picked the wrong house.
Face down and tied up with a stereo cord. That's how LAPD officers found their suspect this morning after he'd been taken down by the North Hills family who say the stranger wandered into their home at 2 o'clock this morning and began attacking them.
I don't know this guy. I don't know. He's a stranger. Yes. He's hard to get inside a house with a knife.
You really have to admire these rescuers just going out. You just never know what their day is going to entail, and they come out and do whatever is asked for them, and this poor little dog is trying to be rescued here. So we will stay on this for the moment. You are watching a live stream from California on Fox News Now. You really gotta applaud this rescuer doing everything he can to get this dog out of this area. We will continue to bring you these live pictures as this dog rescue is underway in California. We're being told that this dog rescue is being underway in Eden Canyon over there in California, and it apparently got away from its owners on a trail. So they were just trying to have a nice Tuesday stroll, and things got out of hand. The dog got away, and now they need it to be rescued. So hopefully this dog will be safe. We will continue to bring you these covered. It's the great thing about Fox News Now is we don't have any time constraints, so we don't need to dip out. Looks like he does have the dog harnessed now. He's picking him up. Look at this. Look at this effort. You really got to give it to these rescuers. Scary situation. Power lines everywhere. Stay with us. Wow, he is, look at this dog is very scared, obviously. And this rescuer is trying to do everything he can. Poor dog. Look at this, it's very, must be tired, confused, scared. A lot of emotions going through this dog right now.
So, Mike, what do you think is going on in the dog's mind right now?
Well, I'm thinking very confused, scared, thirsty, hungry, every kind of, yeah.
You know what? LA's actually been dealing with some above average temperatures. It
yeah.
was like 100 degrees
at
on
the
Sunday.
Emmys.
Yeah, which is much higher than the average temperature to us here in Phoenix.
Yeah. Look at this. Oh, wow. Wow. Rescuer took a dive with the dog. Let's hope they're all okay there. Wow, that was a big hurdle there. Ooh.
More people should be watching this dog rescue. This is intense.
Oh boy, let's hope they're okay. They really took a dive there. Oh man, we're not seeing them appear right now. What a situation. Oh man, did they take a dive there. I'm seeing movement, so that is good. Wow. Look at the effort just being put in by this agency. This is amazing. And look at it as they widen out here. Wow, what a canyon they're in. Oh boy. This is a really tough situation they are in right now. Didn't seem like the guy had good footing, and then just fell with the dog for dropped at a good pace there. Man, you can see they're right there in that little, right in their crevice. He has that. Look at this. This is a true hero here. I mean, this is pure strength. Wow. We thank you all for watching this live stream right now as this dog rescue is underway in California. We are streaming it live on Fox News Now. We appreciate everybody watching. This is a rescue that I bet the rescuer didn't even think was going to happen today. You know, you never wake up and say, I'm going to rescue a dog in a canyon. But they do it, they get up and do it, don't they? Just a very scary situation here as this dog, it has to be absolutely spooked right now. It looks like we have another rescuer there to try to aid in this rescue here. Wow. I mean, you can just see how steep this embankment is, just so steep. Not good much footing at all, I would assume. They're just trying to get down this little ravine here. Right now the dog has to be just absolutely shocked. This is a whole new area for him in his life, or her life. Wishing the best for the dog and of course these rescuers who are, look at this nice pet. You just pat him really nice on the head. He looks calm now though, the dog looks very calm. Thank you for all for watching this live stream here of this dog rescue in California. It's one of the good things about Fox News Now is you never know when this breaking news will happen, and of course we always go to it. Keep you informed and keep you updated. But look how steep this is. This is what really is the hard part of this rescue operation. It's amazing that one of these guys hasn't rolled their ankle or even worse yet. So if they could get out of this unscathed, that'll just be a true blessing here. Once again, this live dog rescue is happening. Altadena, California. What does it look like, guys? A lab? Labrador? That's what it looks like to me. Any guesses on the what the dog is? Feel free to comment in the comment section on there as we try to get you a better angle here, but it's hard with we don't have control of the helicopter. Look at this. Look at this effort. Wow. Look at this steep embankment. You really got to give it up to these rescuers. Doing everything they can to help this dog out and hopefully get it back to the owners. Once again, the owners said they were hiking and the dog escaped from them. And this is the rescue operation that we have now in California as Fox News Now provides live aerials of the situation. Wow, just what a steep place this is. What a canyon. Not the kind of place you want to be lost or hurt at. This is unfortunately the position that this dog is in right now. Luckily, rescuers did get to the dog, but they're having a hard time trying to harness their way out of here. This poor dog is just very scared right now and has to be dehydrated. So it looks like they were able to get him onto some better ground right now. There's the two heroes, though. You gotta just admire the work of these rescuers. Amazing, amazing heroes right here. At least they were able to find some shade right here. Get out of that hot, hot, hot California heat. Here in Arizona, we all know about that heat, don't we? Never good for a dog or a person to be out that long. I'm glad they were able to get some shade as they wait for some word on how to proceed on this rescue operation coming out to you in California. Thank you for watching this very, very intense live stream of Fox News Now. Okay, it looks like they were able to meet up. Sorry about that. Losing mics here. Losing mics. Looks like they're able to meet up with some other rescuers as this operation continues. We are continuing to monitor this dog rescue in California. What a situation they have. These rescuers are going above and beyond for this dog, and if you were the owner, you would want the same as well, right? Hopefully they are able to get this dog and themselves out of this trouble. We will continue to monitor the situation in California on Fox News Now. It's coming up on 4:30. We're going to be here until about 5, or, if we do have to extend it a little bit because of this rescue, we will. It's Power of News Now. Be on the lookout for that 6:30 p.m. stream tonight. Big show today. We are going to hear from the co-owner of Mo Money Pawn. The pawn place where the alleged freeway shooter went in and pawned the alleged gun in the incidents. So we will bring you that interview in its entirety. The Power of News Now. We show you the whole interview, not just a soundbite. And it looks like this helicopter needs to leave the scene, so we wish the very best for this dog and the rescuers as they... I'll try to get you an update for 6:30 and to see if we could get you any update on the rescue attempt. But we will now go to a town hall meeting. This is being held live right now. Lindsey Graham is speaking. We are going to take that live. Here we go.
health savings account during their working years that would take some pressure off Medicare. And you and my shopper, y'all could help these young people take those pre-tax dollars and plot a plan for the future that would make it better for the retiree and take some pressure off the government. Growing the economy is the goal, isn't it? As to the middle class, the middle class is a group of people, when the car breaks, you don't go on vacation. When the child is sick, you change your budget. Hillary Clinton has a list a mile long of more government to help the middle class. My goal is to create a growing economy. When Boeing came to South Carolina, because we had good tax structure, a very friendly work environment, our technical schools would do whatever you asked them to do to help create a workforce. So the bottom line here is, what I hope we can accomplish is to make it easier to create a job. Because from the middle class's point of view, the best way to grow your wages is to have people to compete for your services. So when Boeing came to South Carolina, everybody started paying more, or they would lose their worker to Boeing. For a waitress, the best thing I can do for you and your family is create an environment so somebody can open up a restaurant across the street to compete for your wages. And how do you do that if you can't borrow money? How do you do that with Dodd-Frank? Most people borrow money to buy a car and buy a house. Most people borrow money to expand their business. You're making it too hard to borrow money.
Do you think that the Cadillac tax may be an impetus to this? I've heard lobbyists say that they think after the election that the Congress will limit people's deductions. In other words, all your deductions will go into what I think it will. Romney had this plan where your house, your car,
Your car? Yeah. Thought I talked funny. That's one way of doing it. I'm going to unveil a plan in New Hampshire. It's called the Grand Plan. So what am I going to do? It's a good name for it. I'm going to put on the table the concept of having a limit on deductions. I'm not going to pick and choose which ones, but you can pick and choose, but there'll be a limit. And what that means is that upper income people are going to have less to deduct. You know, itemized deductions, we'll just put a limit on it, maybe for corporations too. Whether you want to do charitable giving, you know, we'll probably take that out and have a separate limitation on it. But if you want to, you know, deduct home interest or whatever you want to deduct, that'll be up to you, but there'll be a cap on it. And the cap will protect the middle class, but people in my income level will probably have a few less deductions. Does that make sense? When you shave some of these deductions off, you have more revenue to pay down debt.
I mean, is there bipartisan support for that?
Yeah, it's called Simpson Bowles. I mean, there's a way to do this. We're not all that crazy. I mean, you know, I had 6 opponents in my last primary because I worked with Democrats on immigration from mildly disturbed to batshit crazy. I mean, but I won. Because people are not crazy. They understand everybody's got to give and take a little bit. A little leadership would go a long way. One last thing, I'll let you go. What worries me the most is external events. The internal mess we're in, there's a way forward. It's going to require some give and take, some creativity, something like Simpson Bowles. Any ideas you have about pre-tax dollar savings, any way you want to save money by creating consumerism in medicine, man, I'm your guy. You know, I'm not very, I got a flip phone, but I do know this. Smart people need to be listened to. And there's a lot of smart people like this young man out there, and I'm looking for innovation and creativity. But the one thing that I can tell you without any doubt, if we don't deal with radical Islam, you'll never have financial stability. It's going to be hard to travel in this world if these guys continue to grow. The volatility around oil, the volatility that comes with the world on fire, with millions of refugees pouring into Europe, creates a disorder in the marketplace and in the soul. Life has never been all about money to me. It's not just about the bottom line. But I am here to tell you that your children are going to inherit a very mean world if we don't get ahead of this problem. A year from now, if Syria is not set on a new course, the refugees will continue to flow. Our friends in Jordan and Lebanon are going to fall. There are more Syrian children in Lebanese schools than there are Lebanese children. The king of Jordan is our last best ally in the region. These two countries at risk from the civil war in Syria. Christians are being slaughtered. Gay people are being thrown off roofs. Moderate Muslims are being done horrible things to, and it's got to stop. And it's not going to stop until somebody figures out a way to get on the ground and stop it. Obama made mistakes, Bush has made mistakes, I've made mistakes. But I want you to know that if we don't get ahead of radical Islam, which is running wild, the instability that has come to Europe is coming here. Look at what happened to the economy after 9/11. Another 9/11 is coming if we don't get ahead of this problem. 2,000 foreign fighters are going to Syria every month with Western passports. It's just a matter of time before they come here. We're reducing our military budget to historic lows. We're cutting the FBI and the CIA's budget at a time we need them the most. There is a formula for a disaster in the making. This year, I'm going to pledge, working with Senator Ayotte and McCain and Democrats, to repair the defense cuts, to rebuild our military before it is too late. The number one job of the President of the United States, above all others, is to defend the nation and give the 1% who volunteer, who've been in the fight for a decade now plus, the ability to win and the means to win. I cannot tell you, ladies and gentlemen, how worried I am about where we are in terms of our national security. But the good news is that most moms and dads in the Mideast don't want to turn their kids over to ISIL. And that young people in the Mideast want many of the same things your children want. So this is a generational struggle. If I get to be your president and their commander-in-chief, we're going to go on offense. We're going to form a regional army, and we're going to go into Syria, and we're going to kill every one of these bastards we can find. And we're going to hold the territory. And we're going to let Syria repair itself. And the ultimate antidote to radical Islam is for a young woman to have a voice about her children, to give her an education and hope for the future. We're going to be involved for a very long time. That doesn't mean dropping bombs or military operations. That's just one part. But for us to be safe here at home, we're going to have to build up others over there. Where there is will to fight radical Islam, we have to provide it capacity. That means a small schoolhouse in a remote region for a young girl and a young boy that you wouldn't send your dog to, but will make a world of difference over time. That means investing in their economies and holding their hands as they try to get on their feet. Look in a mirror and you'll realize how hard it is for a democracy to take hold. In my state, the war between the states, the Civil War started. I did not go to school with an African American child until I was in the 6th grade. This is hard. To expect the Mideast to be where we're at after 10 or 15 years is unrealistic. But I'm going to leave some good news with you tonight. I have been there 35 times in the last decade. I have seen the enemy up close, and most people are not buying what these guys are selling. that just need our help. If we can muster the courage to be in it for the long haul like we did with Japan and Germany, then we'll win this thing. If we try to cut it short, it's never going to stop. If we can muster the courage back here at home as Republicans and Democrats to knock it off just a little bit, we can get through the financial turmoil that faces us. All I ask of groups like yourself is that when you get ready to vote, make sure that you're voting for somebody who's qualified to be Commander-in-Chief, having the backs of those who've had our backs, because I think that matters. And making sure that you vote for somebody who's willing to do the things that we should have done a very long time ago when it comes to working together. If people like yourself will get involved and push us as candidates, the best days lie ahead. New Hampshire is an antidote to big money. If it weren't for New Hampshire and South Carolina and Iowa, I wouldn't have a snowball's chance in hell. It would be all about advertising. Here it is about town halls, house parties, meeting extroverted accountants. God bless New Hampshire, because you give America a chance to know the candidate in a way you would never know without New Hampshire. Thank you very much.
Well, I just want to thank everyone. I want to thank everyone for coming out tonight. You know, I think the My Medical Shopper guys got the best deal in the house tonight with a few extra plugs we didn't expect. But just wanted to once again remind everyone, November 17th.
All right, and that was the Lindsey Graham event in New Hampshire. Ran later today at 6:30 for our big stream of the evening. I will be featuring Carly Fiorona, as well as some Pope coverage, because you know we are going to be covering the Pope a lot when these events do pop in. So we'll be showing you some of the Pope coverage. But starting the 6:30 newscast will be a very, very special story. It is the Ty Brennan's story that he interviewed today with Mo Money Problems, one of the co-owners, just talking to us about the situation on how they deal with incoming stuff to be pawned and how they deal with the police investigations. This is all tied into the freeway shootings. Allegedly, that suspect did bring in a gun to be pawned there. So we're going to be talking to him and just seeing how that whole process works and how what they did led to a arrest of a suspect. So we will be talking, that will be starting the 6:30 show coming up. We got about 15 minutes left of this stream. I appreciate everybody tuning in and just watching. Really do appreciate that. I do have another story here for you that I thought you might find interesting. In Florida, lost puppies were found for sale on Craigslist. Let's get that story queued up for you. It's something. Here we go.
Try to escape. Usually they're found immediately.
This is where she died.
It didn't come as much of a surprise to Imran Binyamin when his Thursday morning started with a frantic search and a headache.
I know where they usually try to go, so I canvassed the whole neighborhood.
He drove street by street, but he couldn't find them. So he took to the internet. First, the Lost and Found Pets of Hillsborough County Facebook page, and then to Craigslist. Within an hour, he received a strange message from a woman in Pinellas County.
She said, no, she saw the puppies, somebody selling them on Craigslist.
Right above Imran's missing puppies post, there were his puppies for sale. Police say he texted 24-year-old Alexia Owen to try to buy his dogs back.
I looked at the text. She was demanding $100 each for the dogs.
His next call was to Temple Terrace Police. Officer Courtney Baldwin arrived.
I took over the text messaging at that point, and I asked for her to bring the dogs back if she could.
And as that text conversation continued,
she said that she would give the dogs back for a finder's fee of $200.
Officers waited for Owen to return with the puppies.
She shows up with the stolen property. There was even a tattoo. We were able to identify her off of the Craigslist ad.
And they just cornered her.
Within 3 hours, Bonnie and Bella were home and no longer for sale.
Kudos to Temple Terrace Police. They came promptly and they rescued her promptly. So, I mean, what else I could say? I'm a happy camper.
There you go. There is the story on that coming out of Florida. Now we go to Utah, where a teen says he was discriminated because of his dreadlocks. Let's go for that one.
Of it, and I think that they should, because we do live in America, and it just kind of boggles my mind a little bit.
Casey's mother, Tanya Judd, says she received a phone call from the school principal at Lincoln Academy saying Casey's dreadlocks were against the school dress code, and she was asked to remove them. Judd believes if students of other ethnicities are allowed to have them, her daughter should be able to wear them.
My daughter is white, and there's other students in the school who happen to be of, other race and ethnicity, and they have hair that can't be combed, and there's never been an issue regarding that before.
While Lincoln Academy's dress code does not specifically ban dreadlocks, there are policies against unnatural hair colors and distracting haircuts that Principal Jake Hunt says they hold every student at the school to.
Our dress code says that the student's hair must have a neat, combed appearance, be appropriate for school, and not be distracting in the classroom, which is pretty similar to what many schools in our area have.
While Judd says she respects the charter school's dress code, she doesn't believe her daughter's hair is a distraction and she shouldn't be discriminated against.
I feel like it's taking away, not only have they been racially profiling my daughter because she happens to be a white girl with dreadlocks, but it's also taking away the rights of my daughter's religious beliefs and her spiritual journey of what it is that she's going through.
While Hunt says Casey is not facing any kind of repercussions for not following the code, he wants to have a conversation with her mother to see if they can reach a compromise.
That we would be happy to come to a common solution with parents if they have concerns. It's just a matter of having that conversation with us and trying to go through that process.
Casey and her mom say they refuse to remove the dreadlocks and say they'll continue to stand their ground that Casey's dreadlocks are a hairstyle and not a distraction to other students at the school. Casey says she's prepared to transfer schools if she needs to. In Pleasant Grove, Kelly Kiter, Fox 13 News, Utah.
So a dreadlock controversy, and there you go with that story. I really want you guys all to watch coming up at 6:30. It is going to be a jam-packed show. At this point, I don't even know if I'll get everything in from 6:30 to 9. We might go a little bit over. It might be Fox News Now on overdrive because we have so much content, and and of course if breaking news happens, that'll just juggle everything up as well. But I appreciate you all watching always and being such great commenters in the chat room. Really appreciate it. Helps really bring everybody together, as well as share your opinions on these different kinds of stories. Have a lot jam-packed for you, and this whole week, really. I mean, Samia, she's coming in tomorrow for a 6:15 News Now. That is the early bird show for you guys. So if you guys are up and early, make sure to tune in to her live stream, because she will be showing another Pope Francis live event. We always bring them to you live. Later tonight, I'll show you kind of a recap of everything that the Pope did today when he came to the U.S. First time a Pope back in the U.S. since 2008. And it's only the fourth Pope to come to America on this very, very historic trip. So we really appreciate you all watching and being really engaged in all of our stories that we have been offering to you. I got a couple more stories here for you that I'd like to showcase before we jump out of here, and I'm going to go grab some dinner. Hope you do as well, and meet me back here at 6:30, because it is going to be something. We're also going to have we might showcase Jeb Bush, Carly Fiorina. It's going to be a jam-packed day for the most part. Still trying to get some info on for you on the dog rescue. Still haven't seen anything from our local Fox in California. What a situation Let me just see if the live stream is working for them, maybe, because they did take it away. No, that is gone as well. Okay. Well, I will, during my dinner break, I'll try to get you some info on the dog rescue there in California. Hopefully, everyone is safe on that end. Are you guys already I know it's only Tuesday, but are you already thinking about the weekend? Let me know about that, and let me know what your plans are for the big weekend. I know it's only Tuesday and we're thinking about the weekend already, but hey, you could always, my motto is you could talk about the weekend as long as it's not Monday. You know, Monday is just a sad day, but really appreciated everybody being in this stream and watching it and being engaged as well. Do want to show you some things while I still have you. Look at this view. Let me get my name off there, but this is a beautiful view from South Mountain looking on. Just look at the clouds in the sky. Just a beautiful, beautiful day out there, and you just know pretty soon, guys, the weather is going to really, really turn in our favor as far as the heat going down, and activities will be galore in the valley. You gotta love when all these things start happening in the fall and winter. I mean, pretty soon, what is it? About a couple weeks, maybe 3 weeks, is going to be the Taco Festival at Salt River Fields. That's always a big event. Draws a lot of people. You get to munch on a bunch of tacos that you could try from all over the valley. Really, really fun event. If you've never been there, check it out. It's really fun. Get out to meet some new people as well as just eat some very, very yummy stuff. Shannon says upset that there is no rain like they said. It just sprinkled yesterday. Yeah, you know what? Some people did not receive much rain, but others came pretty heavy at times. So just because it doesn't rain in your area doesn't mean that, you know, it didn't rain for Arizona, because Arizona did get wet yesterday. And if you remember yesterday, I showed you late in the evening from Safford, just the rain. They were getting so fast. They said they got up to 3.5 inches. Really something. I'm gonna pull up that video for you while I still have you here, guys, because that was something. I'm gonna go into the let me see here, Monday folder. If you want to see some rain, you're gonna be so happy though that it didn't happen out here. Okay, that video is no longer here, but well, you know what? It did rain a lot in the valley. Maybe it just didn't, you know, in your neighborhood or your area, but we did get some stuff. This was one of the most talked about stories of yesterday from nationally, as far as this is probably one of the most disturbing 911 calls you will hear. It's from Utah. A teen hides from a burglar, and just listen to the mom, how scared she is. As I pull this up here for you guys. Wow, this is really scary.
The girl texted mom saying she's afraid.
My daughter is homesick today, and she just sent me a bunch of texts saying, Mom, someone's in the house. I can hear them. They're right here. I can't talk on the phone. I'm freaking out. Please send someone.
While the woman waited for police, she noticed a black Toyota Camry.
Car just backed in to the driveway. Someone is walking to the door. The man, he's opening the garage. He's opening the garage. Someone's opening the garage. Someone is opening the garage.
Okay, I have my officers on the way.
Meanwhile, the woman got a text from her daughter, who was hiding in her room, saying she heard the suspects leave, but mom warned her to stay put.
He's in the garage with the garage closed. No, don't move. Don't move. Don't move, baby. Hide. Oh my God, please hurry.
Police arrived at the home just as the suspects took off out of the garage.
That is not, that's the suspect driving away. Go, hurry, please, fast.
Officers chased the black Camry along 700 East to 90th South.
West on 450.
trying to catch up to it.
The suspects ran a red light and hit a Chevy Tahoe, causing it to roll over, and then hit another vehicle, injuring 2 people. Police arrested Nicholas Bouchain. The other suspect, Heath Miller, took off, and police later tracked him down in West Valley City.
We're really grateful that we were able to get these folks off the street.
Police say the girl did everything right in this situation, and they're grateful the suspects didn't hurt her.
They typically go up, knock on the doors. They're trying to see if anybody responds, that anybody's in the home. She immediately recognized that there was a potential for danger. People that enter into those homes are unpredictable. You never know what could occur if they discover you inside the home.
Wow, such a terrifying call for help there. Just wow, really disturbing sounds there from that mother. Well, that's going to do it for this stream. Just a reminder, I'll be back at 6:30 for a jam-packed show. We are going to be covering everything from the Pope's visit here. He just arrived earlier this afternoon to an interview with Mo Money Pawn Shop. They're finally talking now. They're the ones that allegedly got the gun from the suspect in the freeway shooting. So we are going to be hearing from the owners, talk about all about that process of how the pawn shop works with the police as investigations do happen with the merchandise that they take in. It's been a great afternoon, and we're just getting ready for a great evening. So join me back here at 6:30 as we really kick off a great show. Thank you all for being a part of the chat as always, and I'll see you at 6:30.
We're really grateful that we were able to get these folks off the street.
Police say the girl did everything